if you remember what your original thought was.
Yes, Last Jedi. Why I think of The Last Jedi.
Okay.
Much like the Sith are an order, I guess a cult or organization. Let's say organization. Mm-hmm. The Jedi were also an organization, or are. And I think that's going to end. And I guess because there's speculations, there are rumors, and there are little tidbits as to the role of Rey. She may usher in a new order. Maybe they no longer may be called Jedis. Maybe they're going to call it something else. But I don't think the actual people are going to die or are going to end. I think it's the organization that's going to cease to exist. Now, this is also pending, obviously the movie coming out, but what the Knights of Ren were. And I believe Kylo Ren was trained by Luke. Was he not?
At some point, he was Luke's apprentice. Snoke seduced him, brought him to the dark side, and him and the Knights of Ren, they went to work on Luke's apprentices, allegedly.
Right.
So I have my own theories about that.
Maybe we're going to get some clarification as to what that was all about. Maybe the titles is also in reference to Luke's enclave of Jedis. I guess Luke was trying to revitalize or create his own, school or own place of teaching.
Yeah.
That's why,
that's a good way. That's another good theory.
I know people kind of joke a little bit about the end of The Force Awakens when Rey she's handing out the lightsaber to Luke, and Luke is like, he's kind of like giving her that Prince look. It's like,
yeah, he was constipated. He's like, I don't know if I want to take that. He's like, I wasn't ready. I was hiding out here. I wasn't ready.
Because, and I may be looking too much into it, but I think part of it, or at least what they were trying to convey, is Luke was thinking to himself, you're going to go, this is going to be a hard and difficult path. Like, part of him is just like, damn, I know this was inevitable, but this is going to be difficult for all of us involved. Because he did it before, and everybody fucking died, or most of the people died. So, training...
I like how you treat the topic so sensitively.
They show it in like
everybody fucking died.
They show it in a quick little flashback. It's raining, it's dark, people, getting slaughtered. And Luke has gone through this before, and he knows, probably I guess through Force intuition, he's like, this is a great person. This Rey is a wholehearted, very, very nice human being, and she's about to go through some trouble, through some trials, because wherever I'm at, just world-ending apocalypse seems to follow me, Luke Skywalker, and she's gonna have to be involved.
Not just that, but supposedly, like according to like the Force Awakens script, like Luke Skywalker is supposed to look at her knowingly, as if he knows her. So apparently he does actually know who she is. So it may not even be just the situation where it's like, oh, you're a nice girl. He may know exactly who she is, and he intentionally hasn't come to find her. Because he doesn't know if this is the path he wants to go on. But, continue, man. I'm listening. I'm liking where you're going.
Yeah. No, that's pretty much the end of, I guess, my speculation as to what The Last Jedi means. Again, no one's going to die. They're going to, I guess, maybe usher in a new organization of Jedi. Or maybe, I don't know if anyone at some point is going to say, oh, let's restart the Jedi Order. Or let's create a new Jedi headquarters. Simply because that's been done like so many times, and like it's been at least done 2 to 3 times that we're aware of in canon. So it's almost like, I guess realistically speaking, the characters, at least Luke is probably gonna at least think to himself, let's hold off on that for like a second.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
You bring up you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I
don't want to interrupt you.
No, that's pretty much it.
Well, you bring up a good, interesting point in saying that bring up the idea of the Last Jedi Order, because that right there is something like I have a bunch of ideas, none of which I'm necessarily going with 100%, just more like speculation. But you brought up an interesting point where the Jedi Order has tried to flourish in the same way more than once, at least twice in the movies. probably 3 times when you consider the canon has referenced like the Old Order. The canon has referenced an Old Order or like an Old Republic.
Yes.
So it has happened at least twice in the movie where you have the prequel era Jedi, they failed.
Yeah.
And then you had Luke's Jedi, they failed, overcome by the dark side.
Yeah.
So that's actually an interesting point to say that maybe the Last Jedi, because Jedi could be plural singular, everybody on the internet's been saying it. The Last Jedi may refer to that idea where this is the last of the Jedi as you know them.
Yeah.
Or as you knew them.
And that brings...
And something new has to come to pass.
That brings up a few more things as to a cool aspect that this and the subsequent movies might even take. I remember you sent me an article before referencing a character from Star Wars, the Rebels. Star Wars Rebels.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly what the article it was about, but it was that giant ox-looking character.
Damn, did you read the article? Did you read the article, boys?
I saw the episode. I forgot the guy's name, but Bendu. Bendu.
Talking about the big dude?
Yeah.
Big dude.
Yeah, giant ox.
Bendu.
And he's from...
If you ain't watching Star Wars Rebels, you need to stop it.
Yeah, you need to stop. You need to stop not
Get
watching
past the
it
first
and start
season.
watching it.
Yeah. Get past the first season, then come talk to your boys. Because the first season, just like the first season of Clone Wars, it's tough. It's not that... It's okay. It's not bad, but it's okay. But get to that second and now third season. And whoo! G-Bone G!
But
it's good, man.
They introduced the character Bendu, who is of a race of force wielders, but they're neither on the light side or the dark side of the spectrum of the force. They're, I guess, within the middle, the gray of the force, and they follow this philosophy, which is tied to like Eastern teachings, which Star Wars is also tied to Eastern teachings. It kind of draws a lot from that. This idea of being in the middle. So I forget exactly what the term is, but it's almost like it's like an indifference,
neutral,
like a neutrality. That because succumbing too much to the negativity or to the positivity is not good. Right. It's this idea of adhering to what's to being neutral, which is something that some of the I guess non-canonical content has alluded to before. There have been gray Jedis. I don't know if they're canonical or not. But
currently not canonical.
Currently,
the idea of a gray Jedi, currently not canonical. There's no reference canonically, as far as I know. To
I will say this:
Jedi.
This is getting very nerd deep into this whole thing. Quinlan Vos, he's a character that is canonical. Yes. He was referenced as a great Jedi. I don't know if that term, that reference, that aspect of his character is canonical, but that character was first not canonical as a great Jedi, then taken and made canonical. So I don't know if that kind of gets slipped in as well. But
as far as I know, he, in canon, he's been a Jedi, then he fell to the dark side. I'm not sure if there's a gray, but I'll give you somebody that might help you out. Ahsoka Tano.
That's another great example right there.
She's not, and she has said in Rebels, spoilers. I just told you to watch Rebels. You should have stopped and listened. Now you got spoiled. You got spoiled. So Ahsoka Tano has admitted that she's not a Jedi. She said outright, I am not a Jedi. Like, I don't consider myself a Jedi. She left the Order. She's not a Jedi yet. She uses her powers, her force abilities for good. Even her lightsabers are white, indicate that she is neither aligned with Sith nor Jedi. Jedi typically having blue or green lightsabers, sometimes other colors like purple, in Mace Windu's case. But yeah, so Ahsoka Tano. There you go.
Now I know this is a very long-winded point, but they mentioned Bendu. That idea of being with in the middle exists in the Star Wars universe. They mentioned Darth Revan, I think, and Darth Malak, or at least the Old Republic conflict way back in the day.
They didn't mention the Revan. They I don't know who Malak is, but they didn't necessarily mention Revan.
Didn't they show an image?
They just referred to.
Did they show them? Though?
They showed They showed an image of the first Mandalorian Jedi, and they spoke of a war between Mandalore and the Jedi.
Now,
so that could allude to what you're referring to, which is Knights of the Old Republic canon.
Yes.
But technically, Revan is not canon yet.
Technically, not yet.
I feel like it's inevitable.
But I'll say this, not to argue that it's canonical, but to argue that idea is within the pool of resources of which storylines can be drawn from. Because again, this is all going to conclude into something. This is going to conclude into something. Because that Mandalorian conflict, at the center of it was the Jedi Order. They didn't involve themselves. That's initially what happened. This is referencing something that's not canonical, which is Knights of the Old Republic. This
is Legends. We're going to call this Legends.
The Mandalorians created a big army, and they're legendary warriors, and they were basically taking out the Republic from like the Outer Rim, and the Republic was getting its The Old Republic was getting its ass handed to it. They were just massacring planets.
A Mandalorian's a beast.
And some in the Jedi Order felt that they needed to do something. And the Jedi Council, they ultimately decided on not participating in this conflict.
Hold up, are you going to spoil Knights of the Old Republic for me?
No.
Again,
this is just the plot. Okay. This is just the plot. You learn this.
All right, careful now because I will choke your ass.
No, this is just the plot.
All right.
So
careful not to choke on your aspirations, DeepBoyce.
So
careful not to choke on your aspirations.
So within the Jedi Order, there were some young Jedi that decided to go against the wishes of the Council and decided to go fight alongside the Republic to fight back the Mandalorians.
Okay.
And this eventually, not to get into too much content, into too much spoilers, this eventually led to some people falling to the dark side, which eventually led to another conflict between the Jedi and the Sith. Right? So now this leads me to The Last Jedi, Episode 8 and possibly Episode 9 and anything further, anything in the future. They've touched upon this in Knights of the Old Republic, and I think they've touched upon this a couple other times. Maybe even in the Clone Wars cartoon. But this idea that, yes, the light side, the Jedi Council, they're supposed to be good, but sometimes they're ineffective. And sometimes they make the wrong decisions. And sometimes those decisions lead to the dark side coming into power, or they lead into catastrophe.
Yeah, sometimes they're blind.
So maybe this is all leading into this idea that not only do we not need the Sith, because we never need the Sith, they're always evil, but we also probably don't need to be totally altruistic and totally need to be, monks like the Jedi are. Where the Jedi are very strict in the way they do things. And sometimes it comes to bite them in the ass. So maybe this idea of kind of coming into the middle is probably eventually what this new order of Jedi are supposed to be, or what they may allude to. Because the light side of the Force, time and time again, has failed. They've tried to make the Jedi, they've come into prominence, they make a huge mistake, and it crumbles. And it happens time and time again historically. So, me hopefully wishing for a nuanced storyline, I think that could be a possibility for Episode 8 or Episode 9 or anything out into the future, where Luke may say, or maybe Rey or someone else may come up with the idea of the Jedi as we know them, it doesn't work. We got to do something new. We got to throw that out. We got to throw it out in the trash.
I mean, to tie into what you're saying, man, because I got to be honest with you, man, you blowing me away with this theory. I like it so much that I wouldn't even mind if that's how the movies play out. But Luke supposedly disappeared. All right, I'll tell you the reason that we are given that he disappeared is supposedly he went to look for the first Jedi temple, right? The first Jedi temple
in the planet of Jeddah. Is that canonical?
No, Jeddah is actually the planet where that's the Rogue One planet where the Empire gets the kyber crystals, the crystals used to make lightsabers, to use the Death Star weapon.
You're right.
Because the Death Star is powered by kyber crystals. Right. But he goes to Act 2. Well, they didn't say the first Jedi Temple is on Act 2, where Rey finds him, but they might explain that further. But anyway, we know that he went to go search for the Jedi Temple. How that might tie to what you're saying is maybe Luke goes and finds the origin of the Jedi to see what their history is, to figure out what the next step for the Jedi has to be. Because for him, he was charged with restarting the Jedi Order. Yoda says it. at the in Return of the Jedi, he says, "When I'm gone, the last of the Jedi you will be." So he's been charged with revitalizing the Order, and bringing back the Jedi.
Yeah.
But for him, he's tried their way, he's tried his own way, and it failed.
Yeah.
So he's going back to the start and being like, all right, I need to look at the Jedi history and figure out how to make this work. And that's where what you're saying comes into play, where he could look at some of this history that you're talking about, this legend history. It could honestly be made canon in some way, and he figures out that a more nuanced approach to the Jedi needs to come to pass, where it's not something that's this strict adherence, this strict religion, but it's something more relevant and pertinent to the times.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
More pragmatic.
Because when you look more pragmatic, because if you look at Luke in the original trilogy, he's not the typical Jedi. But you hear in the prequels, and you hear in the Clone Wars that blasters are crude weapons, but your man carries a blaster for the first 2 movies.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he clearly didn't have someone to train him like Yoda and Obi-Wan, all the time, 24/7. He was an apprentice in the way that other Jedi were. So he inherently has a different perspective. You know what I'm saying? And although, one might argue that by Return of the Jedi, he kind of had a more passive Jedi mentality, he still was out here like, yo, we're going to go and we're gonna fight some people and make this rebellion happen. So, there's some credibility to what you're saying, and that he's, going back to find out the roots of the Jedi and possibly figuring out a way to make this work.
And I'm going to sweeten the pot. I mean, I know this is probably getting too nuanced for what they're probably ultimately going to do. But like you said, I also like that idea of them maybe Luke has already gone. You said that that's confirmed? That he's gone back to the origins of the Jedi, or to try to?
I'm pretty sure it's confirmed in the movies that he went looking for the first Jedi temple.
Yeah, and
I'm 90%, 95% sure that's where he went. That's what his mission was. So that's what he charged himself with.
And that's happened before. At least I don't think this is canonical. But when that has happened before, it didn't bode too well. I mean, typically people fell to the dark side of the Force whenever they were trying to find Jedi temples, like the Jedi temples on Yavin 4. There was lore that another Jedi who was good, then bad, then kind of the middle, who has a terrible name for a character, but his name is Exar Kun. I don't know if you've ever heard of that character. His name is Exar Kun.
If I did, I would have been tight.
He was way back in the day. He was one of the early Jedis or Force wielders who had a double-bladed lightsaber. This is before Darth Maul. I think that's kind of where they got the idea from. But he went to Yavin 4. Supposedly there were temples there, but it was a Sith temple, actually. That's where they had the Massassi warriors, which I think are canon. I know they were mentioned in one of the comics or something like that, like the current comics. I don't know if you confirm or deny.
I'm listening.
Yeah, but
I'm listening.
So that's happened before, where people kind of try and find the roots or the origins of both the Sith and the Jedi, and it hasn't turned out as well. So I would like for there to be sort of this nuance to it, where yes, I know Luke Skywalker is Luke Skywalker, but I'd like there to be dissenting opinions, where Luke has a point of view of what to do next that has pros and cons, and maybe Rey Rey also has her own opinion.
I had to jumpstart you twice there, man.
I call
you over here talking about Salam Abbasi warriors, man. You can't even remember the main character from Force Awakens.
Rey, played by Daisy Ridley, she might have a dissenting opinion. She might have her own opinion as to what the Jedi should do next. Hell, maybe even Finn. Hopefully Finn is also a Force wielder, and he's coming in and he's like, we should do this instead.
Thank you, please. Please make Finn a Force wielder. Please, I'm begging you. Give me a black Jedi, for God's sakes.
And maybe I would like to see Kylo Ren, maybe be a Sith, but be more of a relatable character. And he also has his own point of view on what should be done next. That's what I would like to see kind of injected into the next couple movies. because Star Wars tends to take like very hard stances. You know, there's the bad way and there's a good way. I think maybe they should kind of just do away with that paradigm and just, you know, kind of set up some sort of uncertainty, because it's going to be the Last Jedi, the last of the Jedi Order, and we're starting anew and we don't know exactly what it is we're going to go with. And it doesn't all seem right, but that's life. Life is uncertain, you know. That's a good lesson to put out there in a Star Wars movie to the kids. Life is uncertain, but you got to take a stance. You got to take a stance.
All right, man. That was a fantastic theory, man. I mean, I can't even. I like the path you're taking, man. So, I have less developed thoughts, possibly. I don't know if they're developed or not, but I have some tidbits to throw in there.
Right.
So, some rumors that I saw. Right, this is just me reading some random scuttlebutt on the internet. You know, the valid news sites reported it, but you know, as rumor. But supposedly, you know, in the Last Jedi. Right, Luke, after, and you know, it's gonna explain why he went to exile. Right, when he went to exile after, you know, Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren, you know, went ham on his crew. There was like, you know, F your couch, Charlie Murphy, and all that, and Luke, basically because of that situation, almost fell to the dark side, and that's why he pulled away, because. You know, and Luke being the hero he is, and the guy he is, and the guy's established as, you wonder why someone like of his caliber would just run away. And that would make sense if they explain that, like, yo, he was about to fall to the dark side, and he knows how dangerous he'd be if he fell to the dark side, so he went back and tried to essentially find his Zen by looking for the first Jedi Temple.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, you know, it would be interesting if they explored that a little bit, and you know, his fight to you know, repel the dark side of the Force, because if you look at how they portrayed Episode 8 as, they said that you're gonna get more insight into the other side. It's not necessarily gonna be about the light side of the Force. You're gonna get some more insight into Snoke, Kylo Ren, and the dark side of the Force. Now that's particularly interesting because the logo, for the first time ever, the logo for Star Wars, The Last Jedi, is in red.
Yeah.
Right? We all know red is the color of the Sith. It's the color of the dark side. It's the lightsaber, you know, the red lightsaber. So, you know, it could go in depth into Luke's struggle with battling the dark side. And, you know, it could show more about Snoke and Kylo Ren's relationship. And don't just remember in The Force Awakens, when Snoke gets to goes to get Kylo Ren after he got owned by Noob Ray. He says, "Yo, it's time to finish your training." What does that mean? I mean, you're gonna have to see the man get to work. Yeah. That being said, red is also the color of blood, which, you know, indicates there might be some bloodshed. Now, you might say The Last Jedi. A lot of people are worried about Luke dying. I'm worried about Luke dying, but it does seem a little too obvious that they would kill Luke. It does seem a little obvious.
Yeah.
A little too obvious. And I almost think that it would even annoy people if they ended up doing it. So the blood red could symbolize the blood of the Last Jedi, as in the Jedi, as you said, that Luke was training. And, you know, ended up dying. Or getting slaughtered. Or it could represent the bloodshed that's going to occur in this inevitable war between both sides. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm just giving different meanings to the title of The Last Jedi, right? Then you have the idea of The Last Jedi being plural or singular, right? So some people saying, oh, it's Rey. Some people saying it's Luke Skywalker. Some people saying it's both of them. It could also allude to the idea that, as you said, Luke was training Jedi, and it could be their story. Now, I had an interesting thought, right? And I was thinking about Kylo Ren and his ability to go into people's minds, right? So one of the rumors that seems very prevalent is that they're gonna show off like the full breadth of Luke Skywalker's powers, right? So Kylo Ren had the ability to like go in people's mind and withdraw information. Now, what if Luke has the ability to do something similar, but his a little bit more advanced in that, let's say he could, I don't know, wipe your memory. Because with Rey, I keep wondering about her and her past. And, you know, she has that Force vision of her being left on Jakku.
Yeah.
and her saying, no, don't go, to like a flying away ship, right? But it's not like Rey's out here, talking about her past. So I wonder if she even remembers her past. Now, if I'm Luke Skywalker, right, and I'm trying to protect some Jedi that I was training, right? Let's say there's some Jedi that, survived that slaughtering and you want to hide them. Wouldn't it be smart to wipe their memory? Right?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? The safest way, the best way to keep someone safe is not just to hide them, but it's to make it so they don't even remember that you trained them in the first place.
This is true.
Because the interesting thing you see about Rey in The Force Awakens is all of a sudden her power just unlock. Like, she's doing Jedi mind tricks. Yeah, she's using Force pulls. She goes in.
She's what the internet likes to call a Mary Sue.
Mary Sue. I mean, she became a beast, yo. She was a little bit more than what's the word? A savant when it came to the Force, which makes me think she has some prior training. She may not be fully trained, but she has some prior training. I mean, to do mind tricks, that's not an easy task, So I'm wondering if he has trained her. He just removed it from her mind. Then you bring up the idea of Finn, right? Finn. Let's not forget, right?
Yeah.
Finn flat out just was like, all right, this Stormtrooper training, enough. I don't want it. Yeah. I'm breaking free. He was like, I'm like a bird, wanna fly away. Like, he was like, I'm flying away from the First Order. I'm out. My man broke the training that they go through, which is something that's not supposed to happen. So a lot of people were saying, wondering if Finn was a Force wielder, right? That, to me, is kind of evidence that he might be. Now, you might say, why was he just able to break free? I don't know. Maybe Finn was one of those young Jedi survivors that I told you about.
Yeah.
And let's say he was hidden by Luke, memory wiped. But whatever planet he was hidden on, Force Order came by like, yo, we need to recruit some youngins. We're scooping up this kid. They scoop up young Finn. Because they show you, in The Force Awakens, they show you a picture of, like, Finn's dossier and a picture of a young him, like a really young him, like, talking like 7, 8 years old. They scoop him up. They're like, yo, we're going to train you to Force Order. And we're going to train you to be a Stormtrooper. Not even knowing his origins, right? Then there's also the fact that Supreme Leader Snoke, when he's talking to Kylo Ren, the first time you see Snoke as that hologram, he's talking to Kylo Ren, and he's like, do you feel it? There's been an awakening. This is way before Rey manifests any of her powers. However, it's after Finn breaks free of his what do you call it? His molding, let's call it.
Yeah.
And yet Snoke is talking about an awakening. What is he talking about? I don't know. But what I'm alluding to is The Last Jedi may be like what you said, not necessarily Rey or Luke, but the idea of the last Jedi that Luke Skywalker was training. I'm hoping Finn's in that group, and I'm hoping that maybe even Luke hit some other people and, did his mind wiping thing. This is just complete theory, complete speculation. Yeah. But I'm wondering if Luke did some, some mind mumbo jumbo to mess with some of these people. Because they got to explain why Rey was so beastly. They got to explain. Like, I mean, she's doing like master, like like I could take the Force, pull, I could take, all that, but the mind trick, that was the one I was like, come on, dogs, come on, dogs. I was like, you talking about that's a Jedi, like an advanced Jedi Knight, Jedi Master type trick. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just sitting here just wondering what The Last Jedi means and what that could mean for the movie. I don't necessarily have an idea. I'm just, putting forth ideas, planting seeds for what The Last Jedi could mean. Then there's also the, important idea that The Last Jedi, that's not the first time we've heard that term. Because if you look at the opening crawl for Star Wars The Force Awakens, right? I'm going to read it.
Yeah.
It says, Luke Skywalker has vanished. In his absence, the sinister First Order has risen from the ashes of the Empire and will not resist until Skywalker, the Last Jedi, has been destroyed. Right?
Yeah.
Then, Snoke also, in the movie, he says, we must find Luke Skywalker, the Last Jedi. He explicitly says the Last Jedi, or the Jedi will rise again. So I don't necessarily think that it's an allusion to Luke Skywalker per se, but the idea that there will be Jedi that arise, and they are the Last Jedi, the Jedi considered to be, the last hope for balance in the universe. And I don't necessarily think that is Luke, and I don't necessarily think that is just Rey. And I think that, as you pointed out, with Han Solo, passing away in the movie, being killed in the movie, with Carrie Fisher passing away in real life, I don't think that they're going to take away Luke Skywalker or Mark Hamill, because honestly, I think it would be a little too painful for fans of the original trilogy.
Yeah, and that and Mark Hamill, I think, is also valuable to the franchise.
Sure, absolutely.
And the character of Luke Skywalker, you kind of need him around, I think. You can, especially, like he would serve as the old wise Jedi.
Sure. I mean, that's not to say he can't appear as a Force ghost, though.
This is true. This is also true.
I'm just saying.
That is a good possibility. That is a good possibility as well.